Get yourself a 3D printed saddle and all your cycling discomfort problems will be solved. It seems to be the hype at the moment, doesn't it? The 3D printed saddle. Well, at least the cycling industry would like you to think that way. You can buy them from AliExpress, Frugo, Amazon, eBay, plus all your usual online bicycle parts sellers. So surely with such an abundance, there must be something in it. They must be able to solve your saddle problems. Well, we all know the best way to try out a saddle for you to see if it's any good is take off your old saddle from your bike, put on the new saddle in exactly the same position and go for a long ride. If the saddle's comfortable, bang, you're on a winner. You've got the right saddle. If not, well, you're going to have to try another one. Try another one and try another one and keep on trying. And so you're on a merry-go-round trying all these different saddles. Not only that, you're spending lots of money. So what do? Well, hopefully in this video, we're going to narrow that field right down for you before you even need to commit to buy. So let's get on with it. Well, there are quite a few brand name saddle manufacturers like Specialized, Physique, Atelier and a few others, and they put quite a bit of research and development into the 3D printed saddle, and that's why their price tends to be significantly higher than your standard saddle. But there are also copies out there on the market, copies of not only those brand name ones, but a lot of variations thereof. Some of those variations are very, very good, and the best thing about it is those variations are a lot cheaper than the brand name ones. Well, you might reason just buy a brand name 3D printed saddle. The price might be higher, but at least it's going to fit you like a glove. Well, that's also not necessarily so. And the reason is the 3D printed padded part is only like the top layer. This top layer with the foam underneath, the padding underneath. But that sits on the hard plastic or carbon fiber bit, the shell. Now, if you're like me, none of those brand names make any models that fit me, so I had to look elsewhere anyhow. And so I looked to the other variations available on the market, and I found this. So this saddle is from AliExpress, and the brand name is Ryet, R-Y-E-T, and it was extremely cheap. So I thought I'd have a look at the reviews, and all the reviews were glowing, really good. So I took the plunge. The weight of this Ryet seat is 150 grams. To give you an idea how light that is, the cardboard box and the minimal amount of packaging that the seat came in weighs 126 grams. Now, the first thing you might notice about a 3D saddle compared to your standard saddle is it's got holes in it. The surface is perforated. So that can mean two things. First of all, there's more airflow underneath because you've got holes there. So more air means a drier chamois, means less chafing. So that's one big plus. However, having holes can also mean in wet weather, when there's water, and of course in the water is dirt flicking up and getting onto the seat, it can mean the dirt can build up inside those holes. Now over time it may do, so you can tip your bike on the side or upside down and give it a squirt with water and let the dirt run out. It won't hurt the 3D saddle padding and it'll dry out and then you'll be right. Now, the most important part of the seat, which you're going to be looking for, is the shell, the underneath. It not only provides the foundation for the material to glue onto and for your rails to connect, but it is the shape of your seat. The shell gives it its shape, and it's the shape that dictates the comfort. If the shape of the shell is not right for you, then no matter what else you do, it's still not going to be comfortable. So here's three saddles I know I cannot ride. The Physique one here, it's like with its diamond or triangular sort of shape. That is definitely uncomfortable for me. The Atelier with its long nose, and then all of a sudden it comes out wide here and then goes back very quickly. and whatever else, it's a bit better, but it's still, I can't ride with it more than 60 kilometers. And then there's the Specialized, same sort of thing. It might be wide enough, but its shape is not right. It's too wide before it slopes off. Anyway, we'll talk about that in a minute. So either of these saddles, all three of them, definitely not comfortable for me. Whereas the 3D printed saddle that I got is nothing like those three saddles, but it is like the other seats that I ride on my bikes. Second most important aspect of your shell is the width of the seat. It goes from the widest part of the seat to the widest part. So just get a measure and go straight across there. The most common size is 143, however there are wider ones and there are narrower as well. So get your width correct. If you're not sure what width of seat you should take, then watch this video here. I'll put the link in the description and that'll help you determine what width seat is best for you. Next is how flat or round your seat is. All it means is if you put a straight rule across your seat, across there, like that, what is the curve like here? With this seat, you can see the curve goes off really quickly. It's curving all the way, almost from the center. Just out from the center, it starts curving off really quickly. This one here, however, you can see it stays flat for a long time before it starts to gradually curve off. It's not till it's way out here before it starts to drop off quite significantly. So this one is what I'd call a flat saddle, and this one is what I'd call a round saddle. So you might find the rounded shape more comfortable, or a flatter shape more comfortable, or somewhere in between. And here's my 3D printed saddle. It's sort of somewhere in between. Next is the Perenium or Perenium cutout. That's the hole in the middle. If it's not a hole, then it might be just a channel like this one. Either way, the seat has usually got them today. Now this one is a large one. It's quite large at the back and it's quite long overall. It's a big, large cutout in the middle. So it doesn't leave much surface seat to actually sit on for the rest of your body. It's a big cutout, whereas this one is a small cutout. You can see the surface area on the seat. There's a lot more for you to sit on than there is with this one. So you might find the seat with the large cutouts more comfortable than the smaller cutouts, or vice versa. There's a few other things you could consider about the Perenium cutout, like how the roll-off is on the sides, if it's sharp, or is it soft, or is it firm. But we won't go into detail about that. If you get it close enough to the seat that you already have, then you should be pretty much right. Personally, with the 3D saddle I've gone for not too long and not too wide, sort of in between. If you're not sure about Perenium relief channel, what fits you, then just go for something like this in between. Next is the width of the nose. Here's a wide nose and here's a narrower nose. Now, if you do have trouble with your thighs catching on the side and you need a narrower nose, you would already know about that from previously riding. So having wider thighs, then you'll need a narrower nose seat. If it doesn't worry you, then you'll probably get away with either the narrow or a wider nose. For me, I've never had a problem with narrow or wide nose saddles, so I've just gone for that one. It's fairly wide, but not overly. If you find a wide nose saddle doesn't worry you, check inside the inside leg of your nicks. It might be worn away, or on the inside of the seat here, you might have wear marks. You don't know it, but it's actually wearing on the wider nose. So you might be better off with a slightly narrower nose seat. Even if you don't feel the discomfort, it could be wearing away your nicks or the side of your seat. And then there's the shell's flexibility. Plastic seats or glass fiber seats tend to be more flexible, like this one. You can see it flexes quite well. Whereas a carbon fiber shell, like this one, it doesn't matter how hard you press, you can hardly move it. So they tend to be a lot harder. Now this one that I've got, the 3D printed saddle, is carbon fiber underneath. That's why it's so light, but it does have some flexibility. Now, it may not have it in the description when you buy the seat because flexibility is something that quite often is not advertised. So sometimes it might be a bit of a gamble. However, generally carbon fiber is a stiffer shell than a plastic or a glass fiber shell. So why consider flexibility? Because if you ride mostly on rough terrain, then you'd be better off with a softer shell. That way it acts like suspension, it'll absorb more vibration, and you won't find it so harsh and fatiguing on your backside. Whereas if you ride on normal smooth roads or on the velodrome, then it won't matter. You can go for a hard carbon fiber saddle. This one that we got, the 3D printed saddle, that's sort of halfway in between. It's carbon fiber, but it does have some flexibility. Now with the rails underneath your seat, there is one important thing you need to consider, and it's to do with your seat clamp. Not all seat clamps take carbon fibre rails. For instance, this is a steel, or actually it's chromoly rail, and if you were to measure the diameter all the way around, it's 7mm, and that's the standard size, so that'll fit any seat clamp. However, with carbon fibre, you measure it this way and it's 7, but you measure it this way, or this way, however way you want to do it, and it's 9mm, so it's oval shaped. And that won't fit. The 9mm is too big for most of the standard clamps, 7x7. So you'll need to either purchase another seat post with the correct clamp, or the clamp fitting so that fits the 7x9 carbon fibre rails. So if you go for a carbon fibre railed seat because it's light and it looks cool, and you go and put it on your normal seat clamp, and you put too much pressure on, or it's the wrong size, and it only takes a 7x7, you don't want to crack those carbon fibre rails. Having a look at the rails on this riot seat, it has a numbered scale on the right hand rail, very handy when needing to move the seat forward or back by small increments. And has plenty of rail to move back and forth. It's about the same or more than a Cellatelli SLR and a Pro Logo. The distance between the rail and the top of the seat is noteworthy too. The Riot is 35mm tall. This Specialised is 45mm tall. This means that the seat post will need to go up 10mm if you're going from the Specialised seat to the Riot. The carbon fibre workmanship on this Riot seat is really nice. The two rear interfaces for the rail to the shell look very solid, and the front looks very sleek and well made. Now because this Riot seat is about a quarter of the price of a name brand seat, there's bound to be some imperfections. I spotted a very small pinhole on the left side of the shell, and another very small dent on the right hand side, and a very small spillage of glue on the right hand skirting. I'm sure these are nothing to worry about, but if you were paying $400 plus for a seat, you would expect perfection. Having a closer look at the 3D printed layer on top of the shell, it looks the same all the way along and it feels fairly consistent on light touch. However, if you have a very close look at the pattern on the squares or the holes or circles, whatever you want to call the pattern, from the back to the front it does vary as you go past your sit bones, along the Perenium relief and then to the nose. It is different all the way along, and you can feel the difference too. If you start pressing your finger in on the back of the seat, from here, it's very soft. And as you go forward, especially around the sit bone area, it becomes fairly firm. And as you go along the nose area, it's still fairly firm until you get close up to around about the end of that Perenium relief channel, and it starts to go soft to very soft at the end. So there is a difference in the firmness of the padding. From side to side, it starts off fairly firm, then it goes a little bit soft around where the sit bones are, and then that's about it. Then it goes back to firm again toward the end. Now every saddle's a little bit different. Where the exact pressure areas are, firm and soft areas are, where you could probably feel it and draw a little map if you really were so inclined. But we have faith that these people who make these saddles know what where the firm and the soft areas should be, and you'll soon know when you ride it as well. One thing to look for, and you can usually only tell from pictures on the sites, is if your shell is sticking out further than the cushioning on the sides. If it sticks out too much, then your nicks or your legs are going to rub on the harder plastic or carbon fibre rather than on the cushioning. So make sure that the edge of the shell doesn't stick out further than the cushioning. So that'll apply, of course, where your legs go past the seat. You don't want chafing or your nicks being shredded to pieces just because there's a little bit of plastic sticking out. Now my seat post has the typical 7mm clamp for the rails, and so the hole for the rails is round. This seat post also came with the 9mm clamp, there it is, 7x9, and so that makes the hole oval shaped, just perfect for the carbon railed seat. Seat on, do up the seat clamp bolt so that the seat can tilt, but it stays where I put it, so the bolt's not too firm and not too loose. Using my sit bone template, it's a very handy tool because on any seat you can pretty much instantly mark exactly where your sit bones are going to be. If you'd like to check it out for yourself, make one for yourself, check out DIY 19 video Bike Fit Tool Make It Yourself. So now I know exactly where the centre of my sit bone is going to be on the seat. Before removing your old seat and putting on the new seat, measure the height, length and tilt from your sit bone point, or maybe you already have these measurements written down. Here I'm transferring the measurements from my Yoligo R12 to the R11 because the R11 is going to have the new seat on it. From that sit bone point, measuring the height and the length, you can use a tape measure or a dedicated sizing transfer tool like this. Chances are you won't have one of those tools, so to measure the tilt you can just use a straight piece of metal and measure from the handlebar to the bottom of that piece of metal. For a very accurate measurement of tilt you can use this tilt tool, and you can make it yourself. That same video will show you how. And if you haven't already, don't forget to record your vital measurements, the height, length and the tilt. So transferring those measurements over to the Yoligo R11, which has the new Riot 3D seat. The tool is showing the seat is too low by about a centimetre, which is because the Riot seat is about 10 millimetres lower in profile than the previous seat. So lifting the seat post by about 10 mil. And now the tool says everything's pretty much spot on. Finally, getting the tilt of the new seat the same as the tilt on the other bike. Too high, knock the seat down a bit. Measure again. Getting closer, but still a bit too high on the nose. Another measure, and the nose is still a fraction too high, so we'll knock it very gently. And I've gone too far, so I have to go a little bit back. I'm letting this carry on a bit because it's very important to have your tilt exactly right. Finally, got it right. So tighten those bolts up, make sure they're the right torque, and we're done and ready to ride. So here we go, first ride with the 3D saddle. And I put the camera on the back as well. Oh, lost a sprint. Not very often it happens. Young lad. How old are you?
23.
23 against 59 years of age. Oh, got to give way sometime. Anyway, I don't know, what have we done, about 50 k's and seat, still fine. Excellent. Beautiful, haven't even thought about it yet. These people that say that you can't move on your seat because it's sticky, no problems moving, so I don't know what they're on about. Maybe their necks are sticky. Here's the motorbike, here's our pacer. By the time we get home, well, at the moment it's 72k, no problems whatsoever. Everyone else is here. Have a cup of coffee, and then there'll be another 11k to get home. So, no, it's fine. So 84k today, Sunday ride, not bad, and no problem whatsoever. Lovely. More than happy with it actually. I was expecting something, or at least I thought I'd need to adjust something. At the very first I thought, oh, I'm going to have to put the nose down. I could feel the nose a little bit at the very beginning of the ride, but during the ride, no. So, and the whole ride, beautiful, really, really nice. So very happy. Here we are, second ride on the 3D seat. So we'll do 103k today. No climbing much, about 200 metres, that's about it. So this will be the true test. It's the halfway stop now. 53k. And there we go, 102k's and just over 300 metres climbing. Very flat course today, so that's the way you test a seat, very flat course when you don't get off your seat much. Anyway, it's in the shadow. There you go. Everything's fine, no problems. Even wore a different pair of necks just in case. It's good to wear a different pair of necks because some necks feel different than others. So. John Holland, don't they sell tractors or something? Anyway, the seat. Here we go. There you go. It's staying on this bike now, so it's replacing the other seat. I like it so much that it's got a permanent home. This is about, I don't know, I've lost count now, 7th or 8th ride now with the seat. There they come. Up the hill. So in conclusion, if you just remember 2 main things. First of all, get a seat that is close enough in shape to your favourite seats. I've got a few favourite ones. They're not all the same brand or the same model. They're different, but nevertheless their shape is very, very similar. And I know they're comfortable for me, and that's why they're on my bikes. So the 3D seat I bought as close as I could to the shapes on my other ones. So get a shape that's as close as you can to your favourite seat. Secondly is always have the measurement exactly the same. So if you're riding a road bike, then measure your road bike, your tilt, your length and your height exactly the same as your other road bike, and your other one, and your other one, and your other one. Actually, I tell a lie, the gravel bike is slightly smaller than the road bike. I ride a seat slightly lower and a head stem slightly shorter as well, but that's the gravel bike. But all my road bikes, all the measurements are identical. And remember, more money does not equal more comfort. It may buy you a lighter seat, but money has nothing to do with comfort. In fact, I've got a $12 seat over here, this one here. It's a Vader from AliExpress, $12. I got that about 2 years ago, I've been riding it for so long, and I love it. It's a really comfortable seat. Best value for money seat. That's it, keep riding and we'll see you soon.